Ladies and gentlemen, this is the April 2024 meeting of the Regional Planning Commission. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes of the March meeting. Are there any changes, any corrections? If not, I'll need a motion.
Motion for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, Mr. Tyndall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, public, commissioners. We do have a couple deferrals here today. If you're here for any of these cases, they will be held next month. The first case is on page 2, item number 2 on the agenda, Z10 2024, application of Chris Blackwell Construction from R1 to R6 is deferred. And then flipping forward to page 5, both our preliminary subdivision cases today are deferred, and that is S20 2024 Terrence Burney and S21 2024 Patrick Murray. Commissioners will just need a motion on the deferrals.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Tyndall?
Nothing else at this time.
Before we get into the rezonings, we allow time for up to 3 speakers for all rezonings. 3 minutes per speaker, for whether you're for or against. If there's anyone who does speak against, the applicant has an opportunity for a rebuttal, likewise limited to 3 minutes. Our recommendations are simply that. They're recommendations. They go from here to the city council or the county commission, depending on where the property is located. So if you want to keep up with the case that you're interested in, look at the agenda and it'll give you the time and dates of the meetings that you need to attend if you want to keep following the progress on those cases. I guess that's it. Mr. Spainhauer?
Thank you, Mr. Swift. Members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We have a few city zoning cases under your city zoning tab. It'll start with Z5 2024. That'll be on page 1 of your city staff report. It's the application of the Conwood Company LP. The request is to go from M1 Light Industrial District to CBD Central Business District. And this is for 8 parcels south of Franklin Street, north of Commerce Street, west of 10th Street, and east of the 7th Street. And 4 parcels that are also located at the southwest corner of Commerce Street and 10th Street. There's multiple parcels, some of which are former tobacco warehouses, and a couple of those parcels are also vacant. The applicant's statement for proposed use is for redevelopment of an existing industrial area, and this request does encompass just shy of 10 acres at 9.94 plus or minus. Page 2 of the staff report, you'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this application. This has been deferred the past couple of months as a traffic assessment was completed. That has been submitted to the street department, and they've reviewed and accepted the conclusions of the recommendations. If you have questions about that report, we can ask the street department for clarification. Then you'll see the other department comments, including those from the school system referencing Norman Smith Elementary at 90% capacity and Rossview High at 94% capacity. Page 3 of the staff report, the impact of this request would permit mixed-use commercial, retail, and residential. It would also remove 9.9 plus or minus acres of M1 light industrial from the downtown area of Clarksville. We have no historical data on residential development for the acreage that have been provided under CBD zoning. The staff's recommendation is for approval. This request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The Central Business District zoning request provides an opportunity to remove the M1 light industrial zoning from the downtown area while permitting mixed-use potential of commercial, retail, and residential for these parcels in close proximity to the downtown area and Austin Peay State University. The request is an extension of the established CBD district. The opportunity for a mixture of commercial, retail, and residential uses will be complementary to the established governmental, professional, financial, and cultural activities already established in the downtown core and the 10th Street area. Pedestrian-oriented uses are encouraged while uses related to vehicular traffic are discouraged. No adverse environmental issues have been identified relative to this application. We've had no formal comments in opposition to this request, but as you can see on the following pages, you have for lack of a better way of explaining it, a PowerPoint presentation with some handouts submitted by the applicant. And I believe they will be here today to speak more in depth to this request and reference to some of these drawings that have been submitted. If you have any questions for myself or the staff, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you. And just to clarify, pages 24, 23 through 25 there have the zoning maps for this request if you have questions on which specific parcels are which.
Okay, we're going into public hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of Z05? Please come forward and identify yourself and your address, please.
Hi, I'm Timothy Brown, 4010 DuPont Circle, Louisville, Kentucky. I'm here on behalf of Reynolds American, Snuff, and Balanced View regarding the site at Commerce Street. I printed out some of the things from the presentation just in case we need those. I've also got Jason Runyon and James Mullins here from Reynolds. They've got a wealth of knowledge about the property. If you have any questions, and we've also got the civil engineer, Houston Smith. He's here too. So it's a brilliant site and a fantastic opportunity for the growth of the city. I'll start off. I'll just show you these pictures in terms of what the older building. It's a mix of amazing older buildings dating back 110, 120 years, along with some more modern industrial buildings. However, the site's no longer appropriate for industrial, and we believe the best use for the property is to change the zoning to CBD to allow for a mixed-use development. With the proximity to downtown and Austin Peay, the potential for the site is really endless. And Reynolds, the owner, is excited that the property is going to have a hugely positive impact on the city. Reynolds is fully committed to Clarksville, and this year is actually going to mark 120 years of continuous production and employment in the city, much of it carried out in these older buildings. But as you probably know, they've got a new facility on Guthrie Highway, and they've just spent $50 million upgrading and expanding that facility, and they currently employ about 200 people. So we've been working on a conceptual master plan to allow us to put the site on the market later this year in a way that provides a brief of what is the best solution for the site and for the city. So the conceptual master plan is to support the city with an outline scheme that will guide investors and developers to understand where the site sits both geographically and strategically. So the aim is, on here we've got a couple of the renderings just to kind of roughly show you what our vision is for the property. The aim is to preserve the historic legacy by repurposing the older buildings, which are kind of these ones down here. So we repurpose those. That helps with the carbon footprint, and then design for the future, and then match the needs of the city. And this rezoning follows the strategy for the comprehensive plan. So we've a vision of mixed uses that can be seen in these renderings we've provided. They'll be focused on live, work and play with an emphasis on open spaces and walkable connectivity. We see a number of different potential and complementary uses such as conferencing, incubation spaces, hotel, offices and residential, along with live-work units, retail and commercial. And it will be attractive for linking all age groups. So Reynolds have done this before on another site they had in Memphis, smaller one, but similar age buildings. So this is what they did here. This is now a very successful residential and commercial redevelopment, and it's actually spurred growth in the whole area. So I hope you'll agree that a rezone to CBD is an appropriate and exciting use for the property and for the area generally. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there another speaker who would like to make a presentation?
Good afternoon. My name's Tom Crozier, and I'm originally from Clarksville, living in Nashville now. My wife and I, Mary, own the vacant property, which is a vacant corner lot on Madison Street and 7th.
Mr. Crozier, I'm sorry. We're now looking for people in favor of the
I am.
change.
I
Are you
am.
in favor?
I-
It's not often.
I am.
You sounded like an
Am I an anomaly here? So we've got the vacant lot that butts up to the loading docks of American Stuff, the Conwood property. And recently we had an opportunity to kind of look into what their plan was. And my wife Mary and I are in total support of the proposal that's in front of this committee today. We think that it's an opportunity to further enhance what Clarksville's already done a great job downtown, and now it's pushing it a little bit further out from downtown. I know that where our lot is, it's in need of a little bit of a facelift in that area. And so, number of reasons why I'm supporting it. One would be that facelift, a little bit of an upgrade in that area. Two is that upgrade that they're planning on doing, I think will enhance and beautify the area surrounding the lot that we have as well. They're preserving the historical warehouse that's on the site, which I think is extremely important. So, make it short, we totally support it, and we would hope that you would recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other party who would like to speak on behalf of this proposed development? Okay, do we have anybody here who would like to speak against this proposed project? Anybody who's against? Okay, public hearing is closed. We're back into regular session. Commissioners.
I make a motion for approval as it's extension of the established CBD district.
Second.
We got a motion and a property made second. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, if you'll turn to page 34 of your city staff report. Essentially, you're skipping the next presentation. That application's been deferred. That'll take you to Z14, 2024. The request of William Ballou to go from AG Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District. And this encompasses 36.66 plus or minus acres. It would be an extension of the zoning classification of R1. Property would be described as rolling hills with some recently cleared tree lines. Page 35 of the staff report, you'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this application. Street Department has indicated the traffic assessment was required, and they combined it with both Z15, which is the next application, and that was received on the 10th of April. What came out of that is widening Needmore Road to 3 lanes dedicated for right-of-way, potentially up to 5 lanes dedicated for right-of-way. And once or if this is zoned and submitted for subdivision, a updated traffic study, full traffic study based on what is being submitted would determine if 5 total lanes are needed. You'll see the school system comments there on the bottom of page 35. Page 36, the impact would be increased single-family residential density. This total acreage historically would indicate 72 lots. This is in the Trenton Road planning area, and the staff's recommendation is for approval. The request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request is consistent with the development pattern for the area and an extension of the established R1 single-family residential development to the north and west. Roadway improvements will be necessitated and required by the developer as part of the future development of this site, and no adverse environmental issues have been identified as relative to this request. And then at the end of the report, you'll see 2 aerials and the zoning map overview of this request there on page in page 40. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the public hearing for case Z14, 2024, William Ballou being the applicant. Do you have anyone here like to speak in favor of this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Stanley Ross with Mitchell Ross, Racconing, McMillan, 308 South 2nd Street. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Ballou today. He's unable to be here. We'd just like to ask that you recommend approval of the rezoning request. At this point, this R1 request is the lowest tier zoning that they could do to get this out of ag. Mr. Ballou is more than willing to cooperate with any kind of necessitated road widening and setting aside that right-of-way for the plans. Our engineer is here if there's any questions, but I don't think there's a preliminary plan in place yet. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with the rezoning. But if you do have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you. We just ask that you approve or recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this rezoning request? Okay. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak against this rezoning request? Anyone against? Okay, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, we're back in the regular session.
Make a motion for approval as it's consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
Excuse me, sir, I just walked in. What proposal is that concerning your property?
William Ballou?
Z,
Highway 199, Highway 149.
No. Okay, we got a motion
Second.
and a second. Got a motion and a properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
okay, Commissioners, you heard me reference Z15 just a moment ago about the traffic assessment. It starts on page 41. This is Z15 2024 application of William Ballou. The request is to go from AG Agricultural District to R4 Multifamily Residential District. This is for a portion of a track fronting on the west frontage of Needmore Road, approximately 1,000 feet south of the Cardinal Creek Road and Needmore Road intersection. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to obtain a higher density residential development to aid in the cost of developer-funded road improvements. And this request is to go from AG Agricultural District to R4 Multifamily Residential District. 110.33 plus or minus acres. Would not be an extension of the zoning classification. This portion is still rolling hills with some recently cleared tree lines. There is a creek that borders the southern portion of this tract. It is in the Trenton Road planning area. Page 42, you'll see department comments that were received in reference to this application. Gas and Water Department has indicated there would be possible water and sewer upgrades required. The Street Department indicated that a traffic assessment was required. It was combined with, that assessment was combined with the request of Z14 2024. It called for widening of Needmore Road to 3 lanes. They've asked for dedication of potentially up to 5 lanes, and a full traffic study would be required at the subdivision plan to determine if 5 lanes are necessary. In reference to drainage, stream buffers would also be required for the prelim plat. And there at the bottom, you can see the comments associated with the West Creek Elementary School. Page 43, the impact would be increased multifamily residential density. Historical estimates for total number of units, it would be 1,326. The staff's recommendation is for disapproval. The proposed zoning request is inconsistent with the adopted land use plan. The request appears to be an overconcentration of R4 multifamily residential zoning for this area. There does not appear to be an adequate amount of goods and services in the immediate area to support such a large potential concentration of residential units. The RPC staff recommends that the applicant consider a planned unit development application or a master plan community design for this site. The 110 plus or minus acre site should be designed with an appropriate mixture of housing types, a variety of goods and services, open space, and pedestrian connectivity. Roadway improvements will be necessitated and required by the developer as part of future development of this site. No adverse environmental issues have been identified relative to this request. Page 44 references some emails that were submitted by some individuals in opposition, and you will see those there through page 48. 49 and 50 is an aerial overview of the request, and 51 is the zoning map of the area. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, anyone here who would like to speak on, in favor of case Z15, 2024? It's item number 4 in the rezoning section. Mr. Ross, you're doing double duty.
Yes, sir. Once again, Stanley Ross, 308 South 2nd Street for Mr. Ballou. We would just ask you once again to grant this request or to recommend approval on this request. We understand that there's going to have to be road widening done in order for this to happen. Willing to undertake that, get it done if it gets approved. So unless, once again, we don't have a full plan together yet. We're waiting to see what happens, but if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. Just like to ask for your recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of Z15? Anyone here would like to speak against Z15? Anyone against? Oh. Okay, public hearing is closed, commissioners. We're in regular session.
I make a motion for disapproval. The request appears to be an overconcentration of R4 multifamily residential zoning for this area.
Second.
We got a motion and a properly made second to defeat the request for Z15 2024. All in favor? Aye. Please say aye. All against? Please say aye. Okay, the motion fails.
The motion.
Motion for disapproval passes. Okay.
All right, Commissioners, your next application starts on page 52 of the staff report. It is Z17 2024. It's the application of Donald C. and Maureen, I believe, Sager. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Single Family Residential District, and is for a portion of a lot fronting on Ridgeview Road, approximately 255 feet south of the Ridgeview Road and Chickasaw Drive intersection. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to subdivide a single-family lot off of a large existing lot to construct a single-family home. This request is just over a quarter acre at .28 plus or minus. It's a portion of a single-family residential lot. It does have an existing driveway. There is some previous zoning history back in 1995. this area was requested to go to a C2 general commercial, and that application was withdrawn. On page 53, you'll see the department comments in reference to this application. The Gas and Water Department did indicate that there's a possible sewer main extension that may be required as part of this application. And then you'll see the school system's comments in reference to Barksdale Elementary, Richview Middle, and Clarksville High School. Page 54, this application will allow for increased single-family residential density, but historical estimates only indicates one additional lot would be created through this request. The staff is recommending approval. It's consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request of R2 single-family residential it's at a location where R1 single-family residential transitions to C5 highway and arterial commercial and does not affect the character of the neighborhood. Adequate infrastructure will serve the site, and no environmental issues have been identified relative to this request. Page 55 indicates that there were no public comments that were received in reference to this application, but I will state for the record that Mr. Todd Harvey, who stated he was a neighbor, stated he would not be able to attend the meeting, but he was in favor of this application. So if you have any questions for myself or the staff, I'll be more than happy to help.
Okay, we're in public hearing for the Richview Road property that's identified in case Z17. Is anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this case?
Yes, I'm Donald Sager. I live at 120 Chickasaw Drive. My wife and I are wanting to rezone this property to R2 for single family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of Z17?
He's here.
Commissioners, I'm Todd Harvey. I'm at 118 Chickasaw Drive. I joined this property to the west, and I'm in favor of this and would ask that y'all would grant this zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of Z17? Okay, anyone who would like to speak against the application in Z17? Anyone against? Okay, public hearing is closed. We're back into regular session.
I recommend approval for this zoning this zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
We got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, your next application starts on page 59 of the staff report. It is Z19 2024, the application of Daniel Hayes. The request is to go from C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District to R2A Single Family Residential District. It's for the northwest corner of Shannon Street and the Ashbury Road intersection. The reason for the request stated by the applicant is to down zone from C5 in order to develop 7 single-family lots. It does encompass just over an acre at 1.18 plus or minus acres. It's currently a vacant cleared corner lot. Page 60, you'll see department comments in reference to this application. The street department did indicate that near the intersection of Ashbury and Shannon Street, that water, there's a known drainage issue with water that can block the street at that location, and they've indicated a request to map the 100-year flood for that. We have seen a copy of what appears to be a subdivision plat that does show that, and it is centered around that intersection. It doesn't get into the buildable areas of these lots that are proposed. The bottom of page 60, you'll see the school system's comment relative to Kenwood Middle School at 89% capacity. Page 61, this request would allow for increased single-family residential density, be accessible from Shannon Street and Ashbury Road. The applicant's estimate and our historical estimates are both for 7 lots. Staff's recommendation is for approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request of R2A single-family residential at a location is at a location where R2 single-family residential transitions to C5 highway and arterial commercial district. It does not affect the character of the neighborhood. The R2A single-family residential district is a more appropriate zoning for the property than the current C5 zoning classification. A drainage concern has been identified at the southeast corner of the property at the Shannon Street and Ashbury Road intersection. This drainage matter does not appear to affect the potential building footprints of any future lot. And we've received no public comment in reference to this application. Page 63 through 65, you'll see the aerial photographs for this request and the zoning map overview of this request. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to help.
Okay, we're in public hearing for case Z19. Is anyone here like to speak in favor of Z19?
I want to bring up some caveats with this area.
Are you in favor of Z19?
Yes and no. I wanted
Can
to.
you also
be in
need to
favor-
identify yourself first.
What?
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm Tony Allender. I live at
Thank you.
305 Shannon Street since 1990. That field out there underneath that one tree that is closest to the corner of Shannon Street and Ashbury has got a sinkhole underneath it. Then if you go back the Ashbury Road, there's another sinkhole back there. The problem with it is that 7 houses would be way too much for that little piece of land. The city has had to buy the house on Shannon and Ashbury due to it flooding all the way up into her basement. Now, the house across, next to it has flooded into that basement also, so you have an area there that is highly susceptible to flooding, and it has come all the way across Shannon Street up there by the firehouse. So there, like I said, 7 houses is too much for the drainage that's already there. What I propose is to put in less housing, not 7, but maybe 4 at the most. And maybe some sidewalks with some extra drainage to help that area. We have children that play on the road and stuff because there's not really a place for them to go. And that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, probably fix the flooding and put in a safety barrier for the kids. The school buses do not travel up Shannon Street. They stop there at Ashbury and Shannon to pick up children all along that road. So that would make it a safer way for the kids too. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody here who'd like to speak in favor of Z19? Anybody in favor? Okay. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak against Z19? Your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Christopher Allender. I live at 305 Shannon Street. Yes. First time I was doing a thing like this, only got 3 minutes, and I have a little speech prepared. Good evening, esteemed members of the council, neighbors, and friends. Today we gather to discuss the future of the vacant lot that stands as a gateway to our neighborhood. This space, currently open and full of potential, is at the heart of a decision that will shape the character of our community for years to come. I stand before you to propose an alternative to residential development, one that prioritizes the well-being and safety of our residents, especially our children. The lot presents us with a unique opportunity to create a park, a sanctuary where children can play freely from the dangers of the street. People do speed on that road all the time. We have had neighbors and ourselves, we've lost cats, and I've seen toddlers on that road. Our streets, as they are now, lack the infrastructure to ensure the safety of our pedestrians. The cars that speed down our roads pose a constant threat, and without sidewalks, every step near the roadway is at risk. It is our responsibility to mitigate these dangers and not exacerbate them by increasing traffic and population density with new housing. Moreover, the value of green spaces in urban environments cannot be overstated. Parks serve as the lungs of a city, providing clean air and respite from the concrete and noise. They are places where communities come together, where friendships are forged, and where the simple joys of nature can be appreciated. Let us also consider the economic impact. Studies have shown that properties adjacent to parks and recreational areas see an increase in value. By choosing to create a park, we are not only investing in the health and happiness of our citizens, such as I, but also the financial robustness of our neighborhood. In conclusion, while the development of residential housing may offer short-term gains, the establishment of a park provides lasting benefits: safety for our children, health of our citizens, and the strength for our community. I urge you to envision this not as a space to be filled, but as an opportunity to enrich the lives of all who call this neighborhood home. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, anyone else who would like to speak against Z19? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing.
I make a motion for approval. It's consistent with land use plan.
Second.
We got a motion and properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Just to address your concerns, there's a lot of steps that anyone who develops this has got to go through. Water certainly is a part of it, but there's a lot of engineering and architectural issues that have to be addressed. So this is just rezoning. We don't make a decision how many houses are going to be built. That's going to be up to the developer per whatever zoning that he's in. So anyway, be vigilant. There will be some more steps coming. Okay.
All right, Commissioners, on page 65 is your next application. It is Z20-2024. It's the application of Clarkland. The request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. It's for the northwest corner of Highway 41A bypass and Denny Road intersection. The reason for this request stated by the applicant is more appropriate to be they stated it would be more appropriate to be a commercial development, and it's just under 5 acres at 4.98 plus or minus. It's a large single-family residential home site with some small areas of trees. It is in the Hilldale planning area. Page 66. You'll see the department comments that were received in reference to this application. Gas and Water has stated that a sewer main extension would be required. Street Department has stated that it must access off Denny Road, and any access to 41A bypass will require an access appeal, and then it will further require a traffic study at the site plan review if this application is approved. Page 67. This request would create an increase of traffic, light, and noise. The staff's recommendation is for approval. The request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The request is located at an intersection along an arterial highway, part of a node of commercial activity, and is an extension of the C5 highway and arterial commercial zoning classification to both the east and west. No adverse environmental issues have been identified as part of this request. Pages 69, 70, and 71 show the aerial overview of this request and the zoning map overview of this request. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a public hearing now for case Z20. Clarkland being the applicant. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of this application?
Britt Little, 108 Center Point Drive, representing Clarkland on this rezone request. We believe this is the best use of the property, arterial commercial. It's an extension of the zoning classification. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to try to answer those.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Little. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of Z20? Anyone in favor? Anyone opposed to case Z20? Anyone opposed? Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, your name and address, please.
My name is Gwendolyn Stallings. I live at 2284 Ermine. We was just wondering, the access, there's a Gibson Lane that's behind this zoning. They're not going to make any connections to that area, right?
I think that's really a city issue.
Yeah, at this point, we're not looking at a site development plan of this request.
Yeah.
It would be the change of the zoning classification.
Okay, so where would we go for that one?
If there is a site plan submitted for this, it would come back through this office. Would likely go through a review here, at which point in time they'll review the connections. I do know that in our review of this application, that the developer had made mention, or a representative of the developer was requesting access to the 41A bypass. That's to be their primary access to the property. I fully intend that's what they would try to do, but we'll look at whatever application comes in.
Okay, will we get the same notification, not this one, the same notification we did originally for the zoning? Will we get that
Did you
again?
receive a letter for the zoning?
Yes, sir.
Then you'd likely receive a letter for the site plan, depending what kind of site plan it is. Some site plans are handled in-house and don't have to come to the planning commission. If it's of a substantial size, you will get a letter again.
Okay, so right now, we're looking at no issues behind that then?
We're going to ask the applicant to come back up and speak in a little bit to answer that question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Little, you want
Basically, Britt, there would be nothing to gain from accessing this solely through a residential subdivision versus the front arterial frontage of the bypass.
That's correct.
And it's it would be your applicant's intention. I don't know how far along you are designing anything, not to access Ermine Drive off
That's
the back.
correct also.
All right. You good?
Thank you, Mr. Little. Okay, commissioners, we're in the regular session.
I make a motion for approval as it's consistent with the adopted land use plan.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
It's up to you whether or not you want to make another public hearing, but we haven't changed anything, but it's up to you. I'll make sure that. All right, final case up today. Commissioners under tab, or page 73, is the Z02 2024 was deferred last month to get any additional input. The Planning Commission, after discussing this with the Code Department, who I don't see here today, the decision was not to change any of the language from last month. You have attached there today on page 76, 77, 78, 79, and a little bit of 80, a couple letters from 3 different folks in opposition to this. What I wanted to show today, and I added this slide, which I didn't have up last month, to paint the picture for what's going on here. Again, this was something that the Board of Zoning Appeals met in November, I believe now, maybe December, and they were asked to make a determination about a denial of a duplex, a vertical duplex, one on top of another, in a C2 zone. The applicant at the time made the case that C2 side-by-side or townhouses were being approved by the code department. And this, if you break open the code and look at the definitions of multifamily, townhouse, and dwelling 2 and 3 family, there's a dilemma. And unfortunately, the Board of Zoning Appeals asked the Planning Commission to look at this. They said Planning Commission told the staff to look at this, and this is where, that's the breadcrumb trail of how we got here. So if you look at chapter 3, 4, 12, residential uses permitted with conditions, that's the chart in the city zoning ordinance about what is permitted in what zones. And there are no outright permitted residential uses in C2. Anything that's permitted is with conditions. That's multifamily, and what I've done here is I've attached the definitions of each to it. So a multifamily, and I'll read this for those in the back of the room. Definition of multifamily is a dwelling or group of dwellings on one lot containing separate living units for 3 or more families, having separate or joint entrances and including apartments, row homes, and condominiums. Townhouses are also permitted with conditions, and I'll get to the conditions on the next page, in C2. And a definition of a townhouse is a one-family dwelling unit with private entrance, which is part of a structure whose dwelling units are attached horizontally in a linear arrangement and having a totally exposed front and rear wall to be used for access, light, ventilation, not transient in nature. And then dwelling 2 and 3 family, some would call that a duplex or a triplex. The definition as the code uses says dwelling 2 and 3 family. 2 family or 3 family do not have a P, a PC, or a PR, or an A in the chart on chapter 3.4.12, which would indicate that they are not used because there is not a permitted or permitted with conditions under that slot. The definition of a 2 and 3 family dwelling is a building so designed and arranged to provide sleeping, cooking, and kitchen accommodations and toilet facilities for occupancy of 2 or 3 families respectively. And then I just also threw up there dwelling for single family. Again, that's also not permitted. So in the law of construction of ordinances, what is not included is sometimes as important as what is included. And multifamily and townhouses are permitted with conditions, and 2 and 3 family and single family dwellings are not permitted because there's nothing in the chart to say they're not. We don't put an X in the chart. We don't put a 0 that says it's not allowed. It's just blank. Next slide, Daniel. So this is the slide from last month, and we were asked basically to clarify whether duplexes or 2-unit townhomes in the C2 classification were appropriate. Regardless of what the Building and Code Department has been issuing all along, and they've had 4 or 5 directors over 6 years here, and I think the definition and the interpretation may change with time. I will also say that the definition of a townhome in the zoning ordinance is not the same as the townhome definition in the IRC or the IBC building codes. The townhome definition does not specify in our zoning ordinance 3 or more units, but instead just references a structure whose units are arranged horizontally. Could be any amount of units. Technically, some folks call townhomes single family. Single family attached or semi-attached may be the more appropriate definition of what a townhome technically is. A lot of times they are sold off individually or leased out individually under horizontal property regimes, or sometimes they are rented. So what we try to do working with the code department is come up with how do you fix this without upsetting the rest of the code, and just address what is in the question that has been asked of us, which is what does C2 and duplexes have to do with each other? And the decision on page 74 was to not go after the definitions, which was initially the approach we were going to take, but instead change the section 5.1.7 residential uses permitted with conditions in C2, specifically multifamily and townhomes in C2, delete one section, letter B, where it says single-family detached are permitted provided they are located on a common lot in a horizontal property regime. Off-street parking and primary access to such single-family detached structures shall be at the side or rear of the buildings, and replace it with 2 letters, letter B, Townhomes must contain 3 or more units and can be co-located with commercial uses on the same property. And C, any two-family dwelling unit, duplex or townhome that was in existence prior to May 2nd, 2024 may be replaced on the same lot parcel of land. And I leave it with the final bullet there that there are instances where C2 may not be the right zone, and there's always the opportunity to come in for a rezoning application to a more appropriate zone if the need arises there. And I guess I'll leave with this final comment that's not on there. We're going to pass our budget today. The hope is to get an RFP out ASAP, June, July period, to completely rewrite the city and the county zoning codes. And with this, we will set up teams to work with the local development community, the engineer community, and the departments to come up with a code that hopefully meets everyone's needs. It may not look a lot like what we have today. It may be some big swings and maybe some small changes here and there, but this is definitely an issue. R3 is definitely an issue that needs to be thought of more holistically than a Band-Aid fix, which I feel, again, we are being asked to do by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Commissioners, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't see any reason to do anything today, just that this will be taken care of when the changes are made to the code. Y'all see any reason for a public hearing on this, or?
I'd rather just table this issue and let it be handled in the rewriting of the code next year.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to county zoning.
Do I need to make a motion?
We do need to dispose.
I'll make a
of this
motion to
sometime.
table ZO2 2024.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second to table this issue. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay.
So tabling means that it is done with here. It will not go to city council, and we'll report back to the Board of Zoning Appeals our report in action. Okay. Mr. Spain-Howard, we do have a county case. It has asked for a deferral, but we were within the 24 hours, so we do need to hold a public hearing on this. And I'll turn that over to you if you'll open up your county tab.
Yes, Commissioners, my iPad's having a moment, so I'm just gonna work off the agenda. You have application CZ2 2024, the application of Gary Thomas Mosley. Request is to go from R1 Single Family Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. This is for a property that fronted on the south frontage of Highway 149, approximately 1,560 feet west of the Highway 149 and Bell Road intersection. The applicant stated that the reason for this request was to offer a small business opportunity for the neighboring areas such as shops, cafes, small office space, etc. The request did encompass 1.29 acres. We were still awaiting comments from the Highway Department in reference to access questions for this site. The staff is requesting a 1-month deferral to accommodate that. I did talk to the agent of this application, Mr. Christian Black, this morning. Said he was agreeable to the deferral, but based on the timing of this, we do need to open the floor for public comment.
Okay, we're gonna go into public hearing for case CZ2 2024, item number 9 on your agenda. Anyone here would like to speak, yea or nay? Please come forward, please, sir.
My name is Edward Crutcher. I own the property right adjacent to it. I don't live there, but I own it. It's zoned agricultural, and it's probably one of the larger chunks of property over there. And what I would hope y'all would look at is proportionality. That's basically a track that lays in between the new Highway 149 and the old one. And it's largely residential. It's been subdivided into small plots. And I'm trying to kind of speak on behalf of some people that really don't have much of a say, probably on their own behalf, or they do, but they won't take advantage of it, I guess you could say. When I bought that property, I've owned it 12 years, and I promised some folks I would never develop it. And there were a lot of concerns about it. I recently, through the efforts of my brother-in-law, had it, one section of it filled. It's the section right next to the one in question. And there are a lot of issues with respect to percolation. There are, with respect to utilities. As you know, the county is all on septic. There's no sewer treatment facilities. Accessibility is a huge issue in my mind. Depending on the way it's set up, it could be very dangerous. And my mother said, on 1.25 acres, you don't have enough room to cuss a cat, let alone, develop a business with strip malls. So I'm trying to honor my word to the people next to me. And, we've all got an opinion. And I would hope that with a measure of prudence, y'all would just take into consideration the balance of this and just look at what's there. There's not a lot there. There's not a lot to work with. I was going to build a home on the other side of the road. There are a lot of complex issues. You've got to have an easement from another property. That's the state's right of way. I've got the markers there on my property. I could take you to them. And the state's, from what I understand, is relatively hesitant to grant folks the right to run water or other forms of utilities. So, once again, y'all have to make the decision, but, there's one elderly gentleman, he's got Alzheimer's. I promised him specifically years ago, elderly black gentleman at the end of the road, very nice man. He can't speak for himself, so I'm trying to speak on his behalf. I've tried to do the right things, and, I just hope that y'all will. And that's all I have to say.
Did you say, sorry, did you say Ben McCrutchen? Your name?
My name is Edward Crutcher.
Edward Crutcher, okay.
And that's Crutchur.
Thank you.
And I own the property right next to it.
I got you.
It's basically what it is. When they ran New 149, it divided my property into two sections.
I just couldn't hear your name as you were approaching the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was all I had.
That's what you wanted to do too. Thank you.
I very much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
If this does get deferred today, we will probably have another public hearing next month because of the window for a deferral. So there'll be another opportunity next month.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak about CZ 2 2024? Okay, public hearing is closed, commissioners.
Make a motion for a 1-month deferral.
Second.
Got a motion and properly made second to defer 1 month. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
All right. Commissioners, we already deferred both subdivision cases today, so you can go ahead and open the site plan tab on the tablet. For everyone in attendance and the commissioners, all items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the staff of the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved in one motion. However, a member of the audience, the commission, or staff may request an item be removed for separate consideration. We're not removing any, are we? Okay. Planning staff does not need to remove any cases today to discuss. Mr. Parker will read all the motions and the recommendations into the record, and then we'll see if anyone in the audience would like to have a separate hearing on any of these. So if you would read the motions.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Our site review cases are case number SR9 2024. The applicant is Haynes Gibson and Associates. Jiminix is the name of the development. It's a proposed restaurant. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 3 conditions listed. SR 14, applicant is Jeff Burkhart. Name of the development is Dutch Brothers Coffee. It is a drive-through coffee shop. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 4 conditions listed. SR 15, the applicant is Grant Constructions. The name of the development is Villas at Old Mill. Proposed use is apartments, 323 units proposed. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 3 conditions listed. There is an email provided in your packet in regards to that particular case. Case number SR 16 2024. Applicant is Johnny Riggins. The name of the development is Riggins Flooring, which is a flooring store. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the 3 conditions listed. Finally, case number SR 17, 2024. Fuel Fortress is the name of the development. It's a proposed health club. Staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the 3 conditions listed. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do this in a consent agenda, meaning all those cases together on one vote, unless you want to pull, somebody wants to pull one of these cases off for separate consideration.
Yes, sir. 15. The villas at Old Mill? Yes, sir. Okay, we'll pull that one from the consent agenda.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to pull off SR 15. Let's go ahead and vote on the consent agenda, which will be SR 9, 14, 16, and 17.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, let's go back to SR 15.
Commissioners, this will start on page 10 of your tablets. May have to zoom in a little bit there. All right, Mr. Parker, if you would read the, there it is. If you would read the conditions into the record individually.
Sure. Again, just so we're on the same page, SR 15, it's Villas at Old Mill. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the following conditions. Number 1, approval of all utility plans by the Office of the Chief Utility Engineer, Gas and Water. Approved electric plan required by CDE Lightband. Approval of grading, drainage, and water quality permits by the Clarksville Street Department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. Properties located at 261 Old Mill Road. Page 10 and 11, you'll see the department comments. Several listed by Street Department and Fire Department, Gas and Water. If there's any questions about those, we'll be happy to get into them. Again, on page 12, we have an email received, I believe yesterday afternoon. Page 15 is the aerial overview of the site. And page 16 is the proposed site review. And page 17 is the landscape plan that's also proposed. If there's any questions for me or the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a public hearing on site review SR 15, the villas at Old Mill. Is anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this development? You are the only engineer this week.
I know it. I'm sorry for that. Britt Little, 108 Center Point Drive. Representing Grant Construction, the project engineer on this project. We're meeting all the requirements of the zoning ordinance. We have plenty of access, have 3 access points for this project. One on Old Mill Road, one on Tynewood, and then we have a 3rd access point by easement through kind of the commercial to the south of us. And we'd ask for your approval of this site plan. Be willing to answer any questions you might have for me.
Mr. Little, is that easement, is it gonna be utilized or is it just gonna be a potential?
I think it will be utilized. There's a roadway already built there, and
So it won't be gated or whatever?
well, there's been some discussions about gating the community, but we anticipate using it as an access point. So it won't just be barricaded off, it'll be used.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Anyone else would like to speak in favor of SR 15? who would like to speak against SR 15?
Good afternoon. I'm Rob Durrett, 160 Old Mill Road. And my concerns are, is there any enhancement planned for the intersection of Old Mill Road and 41A? And is there any enhancement for the Ringo Road intersection? And the other concern is the drainage, the stormwater drainage on Old Mill Road. So are those plans already presented to you guys? Have you already seen them to be approved, or?
Those plans would come at the next step with the street department, both grading and drainage and any intersection improvements that may be required.
Okay, so you don't have, you'll vote on that without knowing whether that works or not?
Well, the street department is here, and we did receive comments, and there was no access issues seen with the connection of Old Mill Road or Ringgold Road and 41A. So there's no additional requirements to be requested between the entry to this project and 41A.
Okay.
As far as water quality goes, that is often, as you know, a little lagging, because once they figure out the site, then they'll figure out the drainage basins that have to go on with it. But they are avoiding the 100-year floodplain in the rear of the property. The street department is here to answer any other questions you all may have.
And I can read their comments as well. Grading and water quality permit required, and connect dumpster to sewer.
That was it.
Okay.
Anyone else who would like to speak against SR 15? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Do you want to hear from the street department or not?
Who's here?
Cowan?
Chris.
Cowan. Joe Green. Both of them are here.
Mr. Cowan, would you like to? We broke your record. We just had one engineer all night.
You have to have at least two.
Okay.
Do you have a question for me?
I think what we heard from the public hearing portion was about any enhancements needed for Old Mill Road, Ringgold Road, 41A was, and I'm looking at the plan now, it looks like just a little bit of pavement around Old Mill and around where the proposed entry is, but no signals, no striping, no widening proposed for any of those roads that were mentioned.
Correct.
But it was examined during a traffic study during the rezoning.
There was a traffic assessment, I think, done during that rezone that indicated that there was sufficient capacity of the roadway to handle the additional traffic generated by this development.
Right, and I think we rezoned that about 2-3 months ago, and
Yes, sir.
that's the same study you used for this.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioners, any other
Any
questions?
questions for Mr. Cowan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we're into regular session. Public hearing is closed.
I'll make a motion for approval with the conditions listed.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion, properly made second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Did I hear one?
Yes.
Did. All right, Commissioners, if you'll open up the other business tab, we do have a few things to go over today. The first order of business is the monthly profit and loss statement through March 2024. You had an opportunity to review it last week and this week. Happy to answer any of the questions. Otherwise, I'd appreciate an approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a properly made second to approve the P&L. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, starting on page 3. 3 and 4 are pretty much the same breakdown. Daniel, you can go to our budget slide up there. Page 3, Commissioners, is the more detailed breakdown of our budget, the individual sub-line items that everything goes into. Page 4 is what the County Commission and the City Council will receive, which is a much more condensed version of the individual breakdowns. The bottom line this year is we are requesting slightly less money from the city and the county to run for fiscal year '25. Last year, we requested $500,000 each from the city and the county, as well as we're supported by our transportation grants and the fees and other funds that we generate. This year, we're asking $475,000 from the city and the county, so a $25,000 reduction. We were just able to save on some salaries as we've had some retirements recently and other cost-saving initiatives that we've done. Our budget this year is pretty nice and clean. It's about a quarter city, quarter county, quarter transportation funds, and a quarter fees. So it really broke out really nicely across the board there. We have also asked the city and the county to reserve a one-time not-to-exceed amount for consulting services of $100,000 each, which would go towards the zoning code rewrite. This budget was presented to the executive committee on Thursday of last week, and it received approval at that time, with the one change being we initially were going to just start the city zoning ordinance update. The county mayor has requested that we do both at the same time. I think there might be some cost savings there, and obviously some synergies to be built off of using one firm to do both. So we don't disagree with that. He thought it would be the better way to get through the county commission. I do agree. On page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you will see what I call our 3-year plan. It kind of gives you a year in review of what we've done, the bottom line up front, where that money goes toward, and the projects we plan on undertaking in 2024, of which, beginning to implement the comprehensive plan, we're going to do a housing needs assessment, which will be a city and county-wide view of all multifamily and single-family construction, style of construction, price points, and what the community has and needs. We're also going to start the zoning code rewrite as soon as possible, because that's going to be likely a year process, if not a little longer, once you throw in the public hearings on top of it. We have a pending grant that we'll find out this fall to update the downtown historic zones and ordinance. We're going to do a neighborhood plan for the Britton Springs Road area. Initially, prior to January, we were going to do New Providence, but with the tornadoes, and we've had some zoning cases here that may have not passed city council. I think Britton Springs Road and Evans Road and the Bats Lane, that area back there, needs a closer look about what does the future mean while there's opportunity to redevelop it. I just drove through it yesterday, and there are still a lot of vacant parcels and a lot of houses that probably still are yet to come down, that just haven't yet. In 2025, you can see a little further out, and then in 2026, we get a little fuzzier 2 and 3 years out about what things are going on. We try to be more receptive to what's going on publicly, but that's the long and short of the budget. We have city and county hearings coming up, but happy to answer any questions. If not, I'd appreciate your support.
I make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Got a motion properly made second to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
All right, thank you. We also have 2 other matters of business today. Both are letters of credit per our subdivision regulations, right, Brad?
Correct, yes, sir.
We do allow projects that use private alleys or other accesses to bond those improvements in lieu of constructing them, so that they can start selling lots in some instances. Some of the lots are not bound by the alleyways, and some they are. As you know, there has been a slowdown in the single-family construction, and these 2 projects were from 2021, have been extended once. They're coming in for their second extension. We don't have any disagreement. In fact, what we did ask for, and they had both submitted it, we asked for updated estimates, because we know improvements haven't gone up since 2020, 2021. So they did increase their estimates, and they will provide us a new bond if you approve them. So they do have to come and say, we intend to get to this in the next 2 years, and it is just a formality, but we do have to ask the applicants to make a statement on both the Flats and Reynolds Street. Is that the same engineers?
Yes.
Oh, it is the same engineer. Without objection, I think you can hear both of these at the same time.
And Reynolds Street.
Yes.
Dodd and Reynolds Street.
Okay. Got a,
The applicant or engineer needs to speak on the project, just to.
who is gonna?
Cal.
Cal, you,
I can speak on Dodd Street Reynolds.
Okay, yeah. Try to make them easy.
Count K, 1545 Madison Street. I don't know what else needs to be said, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay.
Thank you, Cal. Okay, we need a motion to approve the letter of credit for the flats and for Reynolds Street.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign?
And just for the record, that's extensions of the letter of credit.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll come back when it's time to release them. All right. That concludes our business portion today.
We have been having for probably the last 4 months or so, 5 months or so, a public comment period at the end of the meeting. It's not for anything that's been included in today's business. But if you got something you want to talk about, or a question, or an issue that you think is important and you want somebody to listen to you, we'll give you 3 minutes. Mr. Charlie? Mr. Patterson?
I'm Charlie Patterson, 477 Pond Apple Road. I'd just like to make a comment, and it might just be me, old age or whatever, but it was very difficult to hear back in the back. I don't know if all the speakers are working. Now, when Mr. Tyndall spoke, I could hear him pretty well. Did anyone else feel that way? Could y'all hear everything, or is it just me? Just me?
No, you got some company back there.
Okay,
Yeah.
must be me then, Mr. Chairman, but I was just thinking, if you spoke into the mic a lot better, I mean, I know I could hear. I can't believe I'm not getting any backing back there, but but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We told them not to back you, Charlie. So. Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
We need you on the mic because it is part of the record. I'm sorry.
What is the criteria that's being used for upgrading the codes? Are we talking about just strictly residential codes?
This would be the zoning code.
Or zoning codes?
Yes.
Is that more in reference to just residential or?
It's residential, industrial, business.
All the zones.
All of them.
The setbacks, the height, the uses, the parking, the landscaping, the signage.
Okay.
all of
I
it.
was just curious. It's a
Yep.
general question. I'm not,
That's fine.
you know,
Yeah, it's gonna be all that. Now, not to say it's all gonna change, but last time, it was heavily updated in 2010, but it's never had quite the overhaul that we're probably intending to do here.
Okay. Is that as a result of an ever increasing demand for development in infrastructure, or is it just because this place
I
seems
would
like
say
it's-
we're dealing with, our code is like a late 80s, 90s type code.
Okay,
A lot of
it's just
text,
obsolete.
not a lot of pictures, not a lot of graphics, not a lot of examples. The process could be improved in some areas, as we know. And with the recent passing of the countywide comprehensive plan, there's certain initiatives that are important to the community and to the planning commission that probably need to be addressed in the code so that we all get the desired end state of development that we want. Whether
Yeah,
that's
I was just curious
yeah,
about that.
That's the
I didn't
reason.
mean to waste your time with that. Thank you.
Call us anytime.
This is your last opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a native, my name is Cynthia Minnick, and I'm Cynthia Murray Minnick, and I am a native Clarksville, so this is new to me. But it says that Patrick, my deceased brother, Patrick Murray, his was deferred. Was there a reason why it was deferred? I mean, I didn't know, I wasn't notified.
I can.
Yeah, this, just for the commissioner's awareness, this was the R3 subdivision that was coming through off of Dixon Drive. All right, Brad will tell you why. There was probably some information still needed.
Yeah, there's going to be a variance request. A couple of the intersections were closer together than they're allowed to be. So it is my understanding they're going to come back with a variance request to
Right.
try and get that to move forward.
There's, two driveways but they don't, at the intersection of Dorch and Bradley. I didn't know if it was because my younger sister died, and we had to postpone the closing.
No, ma'am, this is just, yeah, it'll be deferred 1 month, and we'll hear it next month. with
And
the-
it's not gonna matter that it's Patrick's name and he's deceased, right? I'm executor of his estate.
I don't think so.
believe so, no.
Okay, because the property's still in his name.
Okay, that's fine
Until
then.
July 12th.
That should be
I just
fine.
wanted to clarify, this is new to me.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Here, here.